If I wanted to squat 2 times body weight or more, here are the 3 things that I'd make sure I'm doing within my training to ensure that I hit my goal. My name is Rob. I help high performers get strong as and in the best shape of their life in less time and in a more efficient way. I'm currently 11 weeks out from my next powerlifting competition where I want to squat 250 kilos or more. Now I've already squat 250 kilos before, but I was at 110 kilo body weight. But this time I'm going to do the same thing or better, but at 100 kilos body weight. So that will be my 2.5 times body weight back squat. So as mentioned, I have 3 key points that I believe that you should start implementing straight away to help you achieve your 2 times body weight back squat or more. Point number 1 is increase your squat frequency. As a minimum, I'll be squatting at least 2 times a week, 1 heavy session and then 1 accessory session based off your weak point. And then if you want to increase that frequency to 3 times a week, the 3rd session will be more of a tertiary style squat where you could add another variation to that main lift. So let's break down those 3 squat sessions. First one being that heavy session. We want to be thinking about executing the lift as close to your movement standard as possible. Every time you're going up to the bar, you're making sure you're doing the same routine, how you approach the bar, get yourself set under it, get yourself into position and executing it. This is where you'd really want to be grooving that technique as close to perfect as possible that you can do. So with your secondary squat, this will probably be something where you want to be thinking about your weak points specifically. So for instance, if you struggle to maintain a nice tight position in the bottom of your squat and you feel you break down quite often, you might want to include things like pause squats. Maybe you always struggle at that final portion of a back squat. You're coming out the hole and you just can't get above parallel. You might want to throw in an exercise like pin squats. And then if you have an opportunity for a 3rd squat session a week, this is where you might want to throw in a further accessory where you focus on positions. So you might be doing something like tempo work, some more pause work. If you didn't do them in the 2nd squat session, you might be doing something like front squats to work in that bit more upright torso position. You can program that 3rd squat session to complement the other 2 sessions. You don't want it to start taking away from, most importantly, your heavy squat session. Now, point number 2 is make sure when you're doing your unilateral work, you perform it heavy and with intent. Too often when I've seen people perform their unilateral leg work, they just don't perform it with any intent. It just looks a bit shit, really. At the end of the day, if you want to lift big, you have to lift big, and that includes your accessories. If you're just going through the motion, you might as well just sack off those accessories and use that extra time as extra recovery for your heavy squats themselves. Don't just add in a load of extra junk volume because you know you should be doing it. Do it properly. Now with this unilateral strength work, what I would do is focus on 2 to 3 lifts that you'd progress over the 12 weeks and make sure that you're performing them progressively, getting heavier and making sure that technique stays tight. So exercises like step ups, lunges, split squats, you name it. Anything where we can load up that leg individually and overload it. Now, can you use machines for this unilateral strength work? Yes, you can, but personally, I would like to use exercises that are a bit more locomotive and require more stability from myself rather than using a machine. Because at the end of the day, the back squat is all based on me and my ability to stabilize against the heavy weight. So I'd want my accessories to be as close to the main lift as possible. I'd then use machines more for my squat volume day where I'll be putting a load of stress through my legs globally. So point number 3 is make sure we're following a form of progressive strength program. It sounds really obvious, but we don't want to just be showing up to the gym week in, week out, just trying to get stronger. We want to go in with a plan, ideally a set duration, and say, right, over the next 12 weeks, this is what I'm going to be doing to get as close to my goal as possible. Now, there are many programs out there. You can follow, say, 5-3-1, you could do the Russian squat cycle, or even better, you'd follow my POWERLIFT program, which is a 12-week, 4 times a week program based on 70-minute sessions at only £49 for that 12 weeks. And it's a one-off payment, and that's your program that you can do whenever you want and as many times as you want. With this program, I've put my 13 years of experience into a program which I followed, and I've put many clients through myself to achieve some outstanding results. And for essentially £4 a week, you could get a double body weight squat. I think that's a pretty good deal. Now, lastly, this is a bit of a bonus point, but something that's really overlooked is eating and fueling. We want to make sure when we're training to a double body weight squat or more, we're fueling our body with the necessary nutrients to, one, fuel our sessions, but also recover from those sessions. All too often, people want to do everything at once. We want to get lean, get strong, get massive. They're all great goals to have, but we do need to kind of have periods of focus so we can give the most amount of effort and intensity into that specific goal. Now, I'm not saying you can't get stronger and leaner at the same time. I've done that myself, and so have many of my clients. Now, is it optimal? Not really, but if we focus on fueling our body at least maintenance and giving our body the correct nutrients and fueling our sessions properly, then we can get the most out of them. So to make sure we're getting the most out of our training, we want to make sure we're fueling ourselves for these sessions and fueling for our goal. So how we could do that, we could times our body weight in pounds by about 14. That'll give us a rough indication of maintenance. And then this calorie total, we could kind of tweak up or down depending on what our body weight does and how we feel in our sessions. So if I was to break my calories down a bit further into the macros, I'll be thinking about, for protein, about 1 gram per pound. For fat, I'd have that about 0.4 to 0.5 grams per pound of body weight. And then carbs will just eat up the rest of those calories. And then the next layer down from that is I'd make sure I'd have a nice protein and carb rich meal pre and post workout based on kind of when I train and based on how I feel I digest foods. But I would definitely pay attention to how I digest foods to know what to eat pre and post session, because at the end of the day, if we don't want to go in and train because we've eaten too much or too close, that's kind of going to negate the intensity that we can put into our training sessions itself, and that's not ideal. So I hope these 4 points have kind of given you a good insight into how I'm going to be programming myself and how you might be able to take those points and implement them into your training. So just as a recap, first point is ensure you have enough frequency of your squat. Do not just squat 1 time a week if you want to get a big squat. We want to be thinking about 2 to 3 times a week as a minimum. Point number 2 is make sure what you're doing heavy unilateral work. None of this just going through the motion and just doing shitty reps. Let's make sure we're putting intention and intensity behind those accessories. Point number 3 is follow a progressive strength program. So follow something like my POWERLIFT program. You can get access to that in the description box down below. Click the link there, £49, one-off payment, and that's yours to run as many times as you want to get strong as fuck. And then lastly, make sure you're fueling your sessions. Eat big and get strong. Make sure we're getting enough calories around our training to make sure we're getting the most amount of intensity in those sessions. So I hope you've got a lot from today's video and you've enjoyed it. If you did enjoy today's video and you got some value from it, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up and a cheeky subscribe. And if you didn't catch my last episode where I went through my 12 weeks out plan and everything I'm going to be doing to achieve my goals of a 250 kilo back squat, 160 kilo bench press and a 301 kilo deadlift, then check out that video. Click the link here. But as always, thanks a lot for watching. Really appreciate every single one of you. I'll catch you in the next video.